Good afternoon to the amazing, legendary Dame Judi Dench. It's an honour to speak to you. How did that legendary picture with you in the Leaf Grizzle Dench hat come about? Because that picture is iconic and we want to know the story. And we love you. Mwah!
Stormzy, that picture came about because Lethal Bizzle and Emmanuel Frimpong made some merchandise. It had Dench written on it. I didn't know anything about it till I saw my grandson wearing something. And I said, "Where did you get that?" He said, "Oh, anyone can get that." I rapped with Lethal Bizzle one day, and he gave me a cap to wear with Dench on it. And very proud I am of it too. Thank you.
I have a question for you. When I was 16, I went to watch you in A Midsummer Night's Dream as Queen of the Fairies, and you were amazing and hilarious. What has been your favourite Shakespearean character to ever play?
Cleopatra. People used to laugh openly when I said I was going to play the part. And then it came round to it, and I overcome all the kind of fears and everything, and we had a glorious time doing it at the National with Tony Hopkins.
Second question, what's your favourite swear word? Sorry, Vogue, I really want to know.
That's quite good. I'm rather liberal with the swear words. I don't have a favourite, I just use them all too many times.
Hi, Dame Judi, it's Reese. It was one of the highlights of my career to work with you on the importance of being earnest. And I remember on that film, you had an 8-page dialogue scene and you came in and you had it memorized perfectly. And I was completely in awe. So my question is, do you have any tips or tricks for memorization? I'd love to know.
No, Reese, I think we talked at the time. I had done that play twice before. I had a speech to Ian McKellen as Cecily. And I never could remember it, ever, until the first night. And when the first night came, this was the speech. And I've never, ever forgotten it ever since. And it was the only time I got it right. It is always painful to part from people whom one has known for a very brief space of time. The absence of old friends one can endure with equanimity, but even a momentary separation from one to whom one has just been introduced is almost unbearable. Come here. He's talking to that cat.
Sorry. Was there a moment where you stood on stage and felt that this was the place that you wanted to be, that you needed to be, and that you were going to do your best to stay there and to be there for as long as you possibly could?
It wasn't on stage, and it wasn't being an actress, because what I wanted to be was a theatre designer. But my brother, Geoffrey, who is older than me, only ever wanted to be an actor. And he went to the Central School, and he came back, and I kind of caught it from him. And I thought, I'd like to go at that. And I did, and I've never regretted it, and I've been incredibly lucky. But sometimes I think if I see something that I would quite like to have designed it.
Hello, Dame Judi Dench. Laverne Cox here. My question for you is how you deal with getting older in this business. How you deal with that? Thank you.
If your inside is 35 or whatever, I reckon you can get through that way. Who knows? You can go on fooling yourself all your life.
Hi, Judi. This is Francesca. My first question to you would be, what's the naughtiest thing you've ever done on stage?
Have you got an hour or two, Frankie?
What have you found most difficult about your career? In an ideal world, is there anything you would change?
When you're in some work, you worry about what the next work is. That's why I never turn anything down. But in a way, I wouldn't change that. There's something about being a bit insecure about the job you do that I think is quite healthy.
Hey Judi, how you doing? It's Riz Ahmed. Look, I wanted to ask you, you've been doing this for such a long time at such a high level. Do you ever still get nervous? Can you remember the last time you got nervous, and what do you do about it when you do?
I mean, I talk only in terms really of the theatre. It's not the business of you to show nerves to a house full of people who've come to see a performance about something else. the answer is always play nervous parts, and then we wouldn't need to worry. We'd be brilliant at it.
Hello, Dame Judy. As someone that I've always admired for being a stage and screen chameleon, how have you navigated not being told to be in one box or another as a female actor?
Kush, I know you're going to play Hamlet, because I heard it, and I can't wait. It's just trying to do things, isn't it, that are different, and being lucky enough to be offered parts that are different from each other. Good luck.
Judy, a question for you. Have you any idea of how many plays you have been in?
Oh, please.
Professionally? Or how many films, or how many televisions you've done? And if so, have you any idea how many performances you've given?
No, have you? You know I don't know. You know I have no idea. But I know that you, Ian McKellen, have probably done more performances than anybody else. And I know you've just done this massive tour, which I had the good fortune to see. So I can't imagine how many performances you've done. But you beat me, I'm here to tell you. And a lot of them we've done together.
But I wondered, another question, whether you have any actual physical memories of the past. Have you kept anything from the shows you've done? Is there a hidden Judi Dench archive somewhere?
No.
And if none of this is of any interest, tell them the story about John Moffat and the Three Sisters and the moustache. One of my favourites. Lots of love. Ian.
The Three Sisters, which we did at Oxford, and John Moffat was playing Fyodor. If nobody knows John Moffat, he was the most meticulously brilliant actor. In the play, he wore a moustache for the first act. And then, this particular night, I said, "Oh, I can't bear to look at Fyodor since he's shaved his moustache." At which moment, Moff, who had not remembered to take it off, was sitting there and went, and I said, "And grown it again," by which point he'd gone. I said, "And shaved it again." He was putting it inside a notebook, his moustache. Heaven.
I was wondering what advice you had for handling adversity with grace and composure.
If somebody you love has died, or that you know has died, or anything like that, then if you're doing a performance, sublimate it and rise above it and have the cry later. Or if you have to break down in something, sometimes that is fuel for it. But it's a terribly hard question to answer. But I hope I've partially done it. Good question, though.
Hello, Judy. Okay, I would love to know if there's anyone in the world that you haven't acted with, but it would be your dream to do so. Who would it be?
I was directed by Clint Eastwood. That was heaven. Also because he starts at 9 o'clock and finishes at 4:30. And I would have loved to have acted with him. But he's very, very tall, and I'm very, very small. So there aren't many parts, I don't think.
It's your old friend Cara here. Well, we're best friends in my mind. Maybe not in yours, but I'll persuade you one day. So, I have some very serious questions to ask you. My first question is, if you had a dick for a day,
Crikey.
what would you do with it? Probably a better question would be to ask, if you had to be a man who is alive right now, so be in their body, have their experiences, know what they're thinking, what man would that be?
Somebody who doesn't have to run a country. Somebody who sits around, does absolutely nothing.
What was a particular running joke between cast and crew that stood out to you on either a film set or in a theatre production?
At Peggy Ashcroft's 80th birthday, Peter Hall gave a wonderful party for her at the Old Vic. And many of us, in fact, everybody that she knew, it was a huge, huge company, did pieces of stuff that they'd done for her. And during the time, I was playing Cleopatra at the National, and my great friend, Tim Pigott-Smith, was playing Octavius Caesar. And he had done a a part of Merrick in Jewel in the Crown, and he had a kind of leather hand that was meant to be, you know, which he had here. And after he did this thing for Peggy, he did a bit of it because she was in Jewel in the Crown with him. So he did a bit of that. And after the performance, I said to Tim, I said, do you know there's something strangely kind of disturbing and sexy about your hand like that, it's leather hand. And it was fatal, because the very next night, as Octavius Caesar, he came down all the steps towards me as Cleopatra, and suddenly he did this, and he had this terrible leather glove on. That leather glove has appeared in the most of the plays I've been in from Tim, and I've got it back to him, and he's got it to other actors, and it's all appeared in many of the plays I've done ever since. Alas, he's no longer with us. And I think of him often and still have the leather glove.
When you were making notes on the scandal and you said, these last few weeks have been the most delicious times of my life, what were you thinking? I want to know what was the subtext, because I say that in my normal life now, and I want to know where you were at.
We had the most glorious time making that film. Directed by Richard Eyre, who's a great friend of mine, and with Cate Blanchett, who I admire very much indeed. And she was a real villain, my part. And it was bliss. It was absolute bliss. And it built up to the fact that the last shot of the film was an enormous fight between Kate, who had to and me, who had to smash me against a bookcase. And during it, I had to wear a kind of great big turtle's back under my costume, which we did lots and lots of times in the last day. And then after that, she had an enormous bottle of champagne, which we drank with great relief. But oh, it was glorious, glorious playing a proper villain. And kind of dangerous and difficult and all those things which are best to be.
Hi, beautiful Dame Judi Dench. So I've always wondered, when the sun goes down, you put a little sexy music on. What's your drink of choice?
I love champagne, and I've already had half a glass. And tonight, I'm going to have a great many more.
Another question I would like to ask you, Dame Judi, is, what's your nickname?
I don't have a nickname, not that I know of. I'm called Jude by my close friends, or Hey You, or Oi, or any of those. I send you love. We were once locked out of the Oscars together when we arrived, and they wouldn't let us in. Do you remember?
Hello, Judi. What a treat.
Orlando Bloom.
If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and whisper in their ear, what advice would you give them?
Try not to kind of fall in love so many times, I think.
Hello, Judi. This is Sam Smith here. And first of all, I just want to say that I am a massive fan of yours. And getting to talk to you like this through the phone is a really, really cool thing for me. And I hope you're well. My first question is, if you could have a dinner party with 3 other people, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would choose to have dinner with Johnny Depp and Johnny Depp and probably Johnny Depp. And then nobody else can have dinner with him.
If there was one character you wish you would have played or wish you could play, I know it's a generic question, but I really want to know, who would you play? What's your dream character to play? Man or woman, it could be anything. Who would you like to play the most?
I long to play this really elderly woman who is very kind of revered and is, you know, living this wonderful, calm life. In actual fact, bumping everybody off, you know, but that part hasn't come yet. Never know.
Hi, Judi. I'd like to know, who is your style icon?
I just always want to be tall and very, very slim and looking like you, actually. You'll do, Kate. Thank you.
And I'd like to know, how does it feel to have your first British Vogue cover?
Well, I'm going to boast about it for the rest of my life, I expect. I've had the most glorious day doing it. I expect you've done a lot of these, but it doesn't come naturally to me at all. And we've had a really lovely day. Thank you, British Vogue, and thank you for all the questions, and lovely talking to everybody.